All right, hello everybody. This is True Crypto 28 from Twitter, Mr. Anderson. Coming at you with another video. Last time we did speak about an RSI reversal play. Basically what we were speaking about is we looked at RSI on the daily chart, looked at coins or stocks that are completely oversold, and we're going to go ahead and take something from a lower high to the last lower high, draw a trend line, wait for a breakout. We did that on Tryon. Let's go ahead and just really quickly review it. This was the time frame that we were looking at. We said, here you go. It had 3 touches. And in this situation, you had your breakout period was somewhere around this area. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but ultimately what you did is you went to the 4-hour, looked for a higher high on RSI. You take the trade at that point, and you keep a very tight stop. The RSI should not reverse back under the horizontal line that you're going to draw. That's your breakout line. If it does, you're going to want to cut losses at that point and just move on to the next one. But that's what we looked at last time. I would suggest watching that video if you have any questions on that. I got some questions that were good questions. He said, well, can you do that to the upside? You can't do the exact same thing. I mean, sometimes it does work. I'll show you an example here. Let's just look at RSI on the upside. Basically, you could say in hindsight, well, yeah, look at this. I can draw this trend line right here. That's close enough, right? And the breakout was here and it worked out perfect. We say, hey, look at this fall that we got. That's fine, and there is a play here for sure, right? But in truth, if we take a real close look at this, this is choppy, right? So ultimately you would have had the higher high right here, right? Where would you have played it? Who knows? Are you going to play it here? You're going to play it in that spot? It's a very tricky game because of the fact that it's momentum before price. So that works out well on the downside because the momentum is going to change. And then by the time you get that breakout, you could say, all right, now price is going to come along. But on the RSI going the other way, it's a little bit different scenario. So I don't really play them on the daily. There are ways to do it. I do play them on the daily. I don't want to say that, but that's another video. I'd rather give you something you can use. And to do something similar to what we spoke about in the last video, what I would then do is I would like to go to a 4-hour chart. So let's just take the RSI to a 4-hour chart and look at this from a different perspective. Right now it's getting heated, but we'll go back in time and kind of give ourselves another scenario without even looking at price too much. So here, we had some close touches. What we're looking for is a real heater, which is right about there. Okay. So in this situation, I didn't review this. I haven't gone through this before. I have no idea what the outcome is, but if we look at RSI, we basically had our high at around 74 on the 4-hour chart, came back down, sort of a double top, right? So you can get cute with this if you want, and this will obviously be a good play. We'll show you both. Instead of doing the trend line, we do the same scenario that we talked about before, which is we went to a 4-hour on the reversal from the downside, and we drew ourselves a horizontal line to give ourselves an idea of where we want to enter. Okay, and forgive me if you didn't watch that video, but just to show you what I'm talking about. You made the high, you had a pullback, you came back. This probably had a situation where price went higher and maybe there's a wick there. Whatever the situation is, RSI was not able to close much higher than it did previously. Had a little bit of a double top action, and then it falls back. So right here, if you were watching, that's probably going to be a great entry. And this is more of a scalp play because it's already on a 4-hour. And you do run the risk of the fact that what you could see a lot of times with these 4-hour breakouts is it might come and go up to 74, 75, 80, 85, whatever it might be, and pull back like this. And you might even catch a nice piece of it. But it might now follow up with a run to 70, 73. Not as high as it was, but price itself is still rolling. Because remember, it's momentum before price. So in this case, the momentum is lagging before the price lag. So oftentimes you'll get the higher high in price before you can get it on the RSI itself. So that's one way you could have played it. So let's just take a look at what we would have been looking at. And basically, you would have had yourself a exit right about there in this situation. Right about there. Oh, no, where I'm sorry. This is the bar that broke down. Let's call it there. Okay. So what happened? So kind of like we suspected, right? You're going to have a little bit of a bounce back in this situation, and then you're going to have to wait it out, right? So we don't want to do that necessarily. because that can create some problems for you, right? I mean, now you're in a trade where you're negative, by 30 satoshis, and you put yourself in a position where afterwards you're going to get out, probably get stopped out, and then you have this big drawback. So what do? Like I said, what you do is you're going to now look for some confirmed drop, right? So the confirmed drop was here. See that little trick we did there? Instead of saying, hey, let's play this one way, we got to remember that the RSI is going to show momentum before price. So price is still hanging out. The momentum's already weak. So this is really our pivot structure, right? Right there. And then it actually bounces back, and we actually did get a closing bar that was higher on the 4 hour, right? And then it pulled back yet again and touched right here. So we didn't quite get a breakout. If you took it here, you're okay. Obviously, you could see what the result was, but maybe that almost did. You jumped the gun a little bit, or you liked this spot and you jumped in, it would have worked out. But ultimately, we're going to pick this spot right there is where it broke out, and price was about 715 on the low side. So say 715. So what happens? It breaks down under your line. This line should now act as resistance if you're in a good trade. And you do see that it acts as resistance twice. And then the beauty part is going to come here where you see the sharp drop. So what happens? You're getting a reset here on the RSI. The RSI resets. That means you're going basically top to bottom, something like a stochastic if you're familiar with that. And once you get down, you don't want to get too cute with this. I mean, if I see something reset down this low, I might even get out here on this pivot. But definitely here, I'm not saying, hey, let me see this thing go into the 20s, down to the 30. This is the type of a short that you would basically exit almost perfectly. Not because you're good, just because it gave you that opportunity to do so. I mean, you're looking at probably an exit in that 650 to 660, 670 range, whatever it might be. Now, if you didn't, so be it. You get a bullish engulfing right there, and you're stopped out because of the higher high on the RSI. But pay attention to these type of situations. You get a full reset, don't wait it out. Don't let this thing go down here. That's just ridiculous. But very short, very brief, right? That's the RSI play. Just be careful. I'm going to go back in time because I know I'm going to find another scenario. Exactly, right here. Look at this. So here's why you want to be careful with this. Because of the structure that we talked about where it's momentum before price, you have to understand how momentum works. Momentum was unbelievable, right? 84. So here we are. Momentum was 84. So you would think, well, price would have acted the same. And it did. It acted very well, right? But now if you look at RSI, and a lot of people, they like to follow RSI and look at, the fact that, hey, look at this divergence. And, it's true. But a lot of times people get themselves in trouble because they'll look at this and say, hey, this is a low or high, right? But the reality is this is just a point in the structure of the RSI. And what ends up happening is you see that price hasn't yet faded. Price is going to go here because the true divergence is when now you've made a higher high and a closing basis on that time frame, which happened here, and yet your indicator is showing a lower high, which should tell you get on in. So a couple things. If you were watching right here and you started to see a drop, hey, the advanced trader, get on in, go ahead, take your shot. Tight stop, same type of scenario. But if not, what do? Well, basically in this situation, you're going to be looking for an entry. So you're going to go to this spot right there because you had a little bit of a pivot. Remember, we're going to try to be realistic. I could draw another cute line up here for a better entry. But if we're going to be realistic, if we weren't exactly watching it and we see, all right, you know what, it did peak, price went up again, it started to pull back, and then came to this level, truly that would be our entrance because we had another pop back and we're going to wait for confirmation of the lower low of that structure. So when that happens, right about, let's call it there. I mean, by the way, this would tell you a lot, right? It failed on an immediate, basically trying to go back up. You see this doji. But regardless, let's just say you waited until you got the complete confirmation, the breakthrough, and that price appears to be 970. And in this situation, it was a beautiful trade. I mean, like I said, I said the cover right when you're approaching 30. So as you see it falling, on this bar, you would have hit somewhere at that 30 line, and it's fine to take profits. So you're talking 970 to 850. You're talking about a 15% type move in a matter of a day, and that's beautiful. That's exactly what you're looking for. Low risk, high reward. So look at this a few times if you want. Watch it a few different times. If you can do me a favor, go ahead and retweet the post that I'm going to put on. Thumbs up if you can. Comment if you'd like. Ask questions, whatever it might be. I do have some announcements coming. Obviously, everyone knows I've been working on some things, but ultimately, we'll talk about that as soon as possible. This is True Crypto 28 signing out. I'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully all is well.